interesting. Now, she also mentioned that within this small space that you've managed to use like 30 different colors. How did you do that?
We specifically sought and used color for different purposes in different areas. So if you look at the color palette in the clinical element, the exam rooms have 2 or 3 colors, and each room has a different tone.
Mm-hmm.
So the room we're in has a softer peach color, and they're all warm colors, calming colors in this area. In the office areas, the colors are a little brighter, because it's a more active, energy-filled space. And in the bathrooms, the paint colors were chosen to be memorable as well. It's a fun color, it's a bright color. The color is used on a paint, and then there's also a color used for the caulk between the joint between the tiles.
Really?
Paint is, as you know, inexpensive, and it was a nice way to provide delight and surprise. And I'm sure Nancy told you that one important part of the project is she wanted everyone to walk in and say, wow.
Right.
And we have been successful in having people feel, wow, this is unlike what I would expect. And I'm not sure if she told you that there is a mental health group of men that meet monthly,
Right.
and that they felt the space was so respectful, that they were so pleased that they could be in a place that respected
Well, I
them.
hadn't heard about that, actually.
Yeah.
I mean, she said something about mental health services, but not that.
So the
yeah.
group of men meet every month, and this was the first month they were meeting in the new space behind the curved doors in that conference room.
Right.
And in the hour session, 45 minutes of it, the men talked about how grateful they were that they could be in such a beautiful place, that they would be respected in such a manner that they could meet here in a place that made them happy.
Very nice.
Very nice, yeah.
Also, in the office space, the floor covering there is really quite interesting. Very complicated patterns and very exciting differences, you know, within a small floor area. And did you have to work hard at that one?
Well, it is 3 carpets.
Okay.
And the carpet had a pattern in it. And again, we've used very simple ways of providing pattern inserts to provide these shapes and forms in the clinic.
Did you do that on a computer, like patternize it? Or?
It's a curve, and the curve was drawn in AutoCAD, and at times we do print out full-size cuts of that, AutoCAD cutouts for the contractor to use to supply it. So there are 3 different carpet products, and in them they're cut and installed in that flower petal form.
Right. Okay. And she also talked about the windows and the coverings of the windows, and how really the county really wanted you to be transparent and like a retail shop or something, and or else you could put on blinds, you know, whatever. And you came up with an interesting solution there. I wonder if you could talk about the curtains that you actually did come up with there.
Sure. Because we are in a building that's a condominium, and on the first floor of it, it was originally zoned as a retail space. So when they received permission to put the clinic here, the zoning requirements for what type of information could be put on the windows still needed to meet the retail element. So initially we had wanted to put a graphic curved form applied to the glass at the exterior of the building, but that didn't meet the zoning requirements for translucency into the space. They did not have any requirements, however, in how you could put a shade or a window treatment to that. So we looked for the window treatment to provide an interesting shape and form, and found just an inexpensive shade cloth in a track that sits at the window that provides a bit of decoration, and the users in the office area can slide them open and see out if they want, but if they want a little more privacy, they can shut them.
But it's still semi-transparent.
It is transparent.
People outside can actually see in if they wish.
Yeah, you can see movement, shadow, and I think that again brings the natural light in and supports again the lead requirement for view and sunlight and natural light into the space.
Is the pattern on the curtain something that you designed, or
No,
not? It's
no,
off the shelf?
just off the shelf.
Really? Huh.
Off the shelf IKEA, I might add.
IKEA, okay. Well, they do lots of different things. So
Right,
that
right.
Makes sense.
And we were respectful of the client's budget,
Mhm.
and we worked hand in hand with the executive director and the board to establish where we can use the few extra dollars for delight, if you will.
Mhm.
And so that's why paint has become an important part of the project. It's affordable and maintainable. And really, we created a few forms in the ceiling that illustrate the petal.
Hmm.
And they really fell in love with the shape and form and curve of that door in the front.
Mhm.
Because it not only was a nice form and an aesthetic element, but functionally, it really helps them transpose the client and the space into a variety of different areas that they can use for a variety of functions.
That's very ingenious, the door, actually.
Yeah, the door worked out well.
Yeah.
And Bognet Construction has been just a wonderful partner in all of this.
How do you spell that?
Bognet, Bognet.
Okay.
Bognet Construction. And our team kind of jokingly says it's almost like the perfect storm in a good way, that the client and our firm, Perkins & Will, the contractor, Bognet, everyone has worked together to solve any issue that came up. If something didn't quite work as designed, or there was an existing condition in the space that needed to be resolved, we all sat down calmly and found a way to solve it in a really respectful team environment.
Mhm.
And I think that has produced, again, a generative team, that everyone felt they were equals, that all ideas were accepted as a good idea, and we thought through them and decided which was the best solution for the clinic. Because in the end, it's the clinic that matters.
Mhm.
How they use it, that it works, that it meets their needs.
Mhm. Right. And there's finally just those columns again.
Yeah.
Nancy said it was something having to do with how, I mean, they are actually structural. They're supporting the structure above, but they're trying also to avoid, cluttering the garage area below, I guess, correct?
Correct. The column grid for a condominium is not the same as for a parking garage. And so this floor and in this area is where the two grids change to provide the right grid for parking and the right grid above for the
It's
condominium.
kind of fortuitous, isn't it?
We love the columns
Yeah.
in the end, because it almost looks like trees and branches of trees.
Well, it just adds in a lot of just visual interest.
It does.
And have the different
Yeah.
biases
Uh-huh.
going on here.
And there was a lot of conversation back and forth between what to do with them. Some felt, we should cover them up and make them straight, and we felt that was fun, and that it was a decorative element, and we should let the columns be expressed the way they are, and just paint them out and let them be. And plus, it took up less floor space, and the floor space is very valuable here.
Right.
So seeing this tree of columns in the open area is actually kind of fun,
It is
and they've
neat.
grown to like it now.
I can imagine people actually thinking that those are actually artificial,
Perhaps.
archways or something.
Yeah,
that were just
no,
built.
they were free,
Yeah.
so to speak.
Yeah.
And another piece of the design are those blue kind of butterfly wings.
Yes.
And they were selected and specified for the space to really help provide change. That they could pick them up, roll them around, move them, and
They're also very subtle, very small, and they have a nice designed shape.
Yeah.
But they're also quite small, so you don't have to feel like having these walls looming over you and
Exactly.
dividing.
And so they have told me that they've moved them around. They move them into the waiting room when they have registration to divide the space out. They move them around. They put them in front of one of their office openings to say, I'm focused on work, don't disturb. And so they've actually used this mobile element as something mobile.
Now, who does those? Is that something you designed?
We found the screens, and Washington Workplace was the furniture dealer that helped tremendously in the furniture specifications and the furniture install.
Okay.
And
So did they design the actual screens?
No. the design, the products, other than the door, and some of this millwork to fit in the exam rooms, everything is pretty standard product. There weren't a lot of custom elements done. We really were specific in how we used our time and the funds from the facility